Welcome to the HabitStack podcast, where we talk with fellow founders who are in the thick of growing their business and learning lessons in real time, right? Because stories about the past are interesting, but what's really invaluable is to talk to people who are in the middle of the battle. So I'm Scott Ward, founder of HabitStack. I'm here today with Frank Olivo, CEO of Saga, which is a digital marketing agency for healthcare providers. We're going to hear about what he's up to, some lessons learned along the way. Frank, it's good to be here with you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Scott.
I always like to start with hearing a little bit about what you're learning about these days. What are the podcasts that have captured your attention, books, or just the topics that you find yourself diving into?
I have a few. My number one, the one that I'm actually spending the most of my attention on really is social media. Like we haven't done a ton of social media work here over the years. And I think that it's going to be one of those areas that I actually think is going to be less disrupted by AI. All right, we're already talking about AI, but I think it's one of those areas of marketing that I think has less room for disruption because it's a channel where people go to connect with other people. And again, in the B2B sense, I think that there's still going to be plenty of opportunity there. But short form is something I still am figuring out. I don't entirely understand that as what makes it work that's useful for a business.
Right.
I'm also learning a lot about uh, a like AI optimization, generative search. Like
Sure.
for SEOs, this is probably about 60-70% of our business is SEO. A lot of us are trying to figure out how, if there is anything that can be done to help websites to show up on ChatGPT and whatnot. I've learned a lot of really interesting lessons the last couple of weeks with this.
Yeah. What's one of them? I mean, I think this is a live question for a lot of people, depending on their what channels they specialize in. I know publishers, for sure, right?
Mhm.
And I wonder, yeah, I guess what's one lesson learned that maybe would be helpful to everybody listening?
Well, one lesson learned is that these models are very volatile. I don't think is really the word that I want to use. They vary a lot. They're they vary a lot. So, and I think this is going to be a challenge when it comes to companies and individuals that want to market themselves through ChatGPT, because you can take the same exact prompt in two accounts sitting right next to each other and completely blank out the accounts, and you'll get different responses for them.
Yeah.
Some like over the weekend, I learned, I was looking at how we were showing up in search for a couple subjects, and I found that sometimes it was relying on its training data, other times it was performing web searches. And even when it was the two of the three times that it relied on its training data, one time it gave me a bunch of companies that I knew and us. And the other time it was completely different results. I didn't know who the companies were, and I couldn't have told you how they ended up there because they don't really give you any sort of insight into their training data point. So what I learned really was first that it's all over the place, and optimizing your marketing around something that's literally constantly changing is a is tough.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, right? If not, is so non-deterministic, causes a lot of challenges in other applications as well, like coding.
Mhm.
But, it used to be that you could work on SEO and see the ranking change, and it would be kind of consistent, right? I mean, it would go up and down a little bit, but there would be a result. Hey, client, we took you from position 35 to position 3. Isn't that great? Yeah, it is actually. Uh,
Yep.
but it's a little bit, but if it's all over the map, it's a little bit harder to have that evidence of progress. I guess you
Yep.
still have, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I also suspect that a lot of the things that are going to end up driving all of this are going to be completely out of our hands.
Right. So what do you do in that situation? How do you manage your customers' expectations and show
What
them?
I'm trying to learn.
And
Because I already foresee this of us seeing, one of our team members working on something. Let's say we see that for a specific search ChatGPT is relying very, very heavily, or it's citing certain websites, like rating the top best dentists in whatever market. Let's say,
Yeah.
for example, working with a dentist, and we get them listed there. And then, hey, they're talking about Dr. Johnson now, and he wasn't listed there before. And then Dr. Johnson logs in and does his search, and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and then I do the search and nowhere to be found. We get off the call, and in 45 minutes, he's found again. I see it. It's inevitably coming.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's basically don't go off of what you see when when you prompt, go off of traffic. Essentially, I always see you go off of that.
Yep. That's actually the recommendation I've been giving everyone is ultimately you need to talk to your customers, because I'll even say in our CRM, a lot of the leads that we get that say they came from organic search, when I talk to them, they'll tell me they found this through YouTube or through ChatGPT. And it just happened to be that they looked into us and looked at our reviews, and then clicked on our Google business profile. And it looks like this company from Nebraska found us through our GBP, which is obviously not the case.
Hmm.
But in actuality, they originally found us through ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gotta talk to your customers. Major breakthrough.
Yeah. That's right. The perennial lesson, the lesson that you keep coming back to over and over, even though you don't necessarily, talking to customers is hard. Basically, it's hard to be disciplined to do it. So you said something interesting. I know we vowed to each other not to talk too much about AI, but I do want to follow up on one thing you said. So you're shifting to increased focus on social media because you think that that's where things are going, even in a B2B space. Because what? Because because blogs and articles and white papers are all going to be slop and generated. And so even at the B2B side, a dentist, because you're in healthcare, so let's go with the dentist thing, they're going to trust more so that your post on whatever is from you.
So
I just played it out. I don't know if that's right, but play it out for me.
yeah,
You're thinking.
yeah, partially what you said. I also saw I saw a clip from Rick Rubin a couple weeks ago on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, that was talking about how he picks artists to work with, because he feels that they have a perspective that he finds interesting. And AI does not have a perspective. And he as a result thinks that that AI is not really going to result in much interesting music, is basically the implication. I think that he uh I think that he communicated what is going to keep people on social media and consuming content from people, because there are topics where AI is going to do an absolutely fine answer when it comes to giving you the information that you wanted, and you're just going to leave. And it's going to be easier that way. You don't have to dig around. Then there are going to be cases where you're going to want to hear from a person. Like the example I've been giving everyone was I had to have cataract surgery last summer in one of my eyes, even though I'm in my mid 40s. And during that process, they have all
I
kinds
would have
of
guessed
lenses.
30s. I would have guessed 30s for sure.
Yeah, I'm 46. I I almost had but so I had to pick. There are 4 or 5 different types of lenses that they implant when they do that type of surgery. And I can get the information about what the 4 types are from AI, like the AI overview or ChatGPT. They're going to be fine. But what they can't tell me is something like what the surgeon told me, where, well, I've probably done 250 of these, and only 1 or 2 of them did the patient come back to me for me to swap it out for a different type of lens. And if you want that kind of information, like you want to know the success rate, like what's the likelihood of a hair transplant lasting 5 years? ChatGPT is going to satisfy some people, but more people, again, if you're especially if you're going to put out the cost for a hair transplant, you're going to hear from people that got a hair transplant, and probably some surgeons too. And I don't think that's going anywhere. And the the winners are going to be the businesses that know how to really produce the content that captures you and tells a story and sticks with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I mean, there are lots of questions that we have where there isn't a study, like you could do a study on these lenses. Maybe there is a study, but in lieu of that, who do you want to talk to? You want to talk to somebody who um, firsthand installed or implanted 250 of them, and how many came back. So the personal connection is it's like the Reddit effect, but it's even better when it's
Hmm.
person.
And I think the video is even more impactful because this is the other thing. Reddit, I just saw on LinkedIn yesterday, one of the AI like SEO tool companies put out a thing that's going to monitor Reddit for things related to what you do. And then like, I'm not like making this up. I don't know if this is the type of podcast you can use profanity or not, so I'll avoid it. But they said, we will then provide, we will automatically create valuable and useful content or something like that. Basically, they're creating a spam tool for Reddit for when they mention what you do to spin up AI slop to answer people's questions.
Oh
So I
yeah,
think that even Reddit is going to end up getting all messed up. And
right.
when people eventually want to know, like you have these AI tools to create avatars and everything, and they're going to get better over time, but none of them really have personality. Like it's so hard to pull that off. I think could one of them talk like replicate me, like speaking very dryly to the camera. Maybe over time it'll get the mannerisms right, but it's not going to get like the right Jersey accent and the right you know Italian American gesticulations that you do that
Yeah.
and
It could be. It might though. It might, but all the same, I think people will just want to talk to Frank, um, right? Not a Frank avatar. In the end,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I don't think I think they'll be able to tell the difference is what I'm getting at. Because the argument people will make is, well, you can just use an avatar. I'm like, and they will get better, but I don't think that I think that the human beings are so complex, and we are unusually fine-tuned to spot that uncanny valley that I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard.
Although we could do it, I mean, I would argue that it's the other way, actually. That even if it gets um, totally convincing and exactly the same, and actually, even if the avatar would give you better advice than real life Frank, I think there'd be a certain contingent of people, at least in the medium term, that would still choose to talk to flesh and blood Frank, just because that's what they trust. But as I said, I don't know if somebody has an experience. Maybe we already have it a little bit right now, right? You go. Would you rather do research on a new piece of electronics at the electronics store, talking to the salesperson, or would you rather get it via ChatGPT? I personally feel like I'd get less biased, more extensive, more thorough information. Anyway, so maybe I'm counteracting my point. I'm not sure. I want to talk a little bit about Saga Pixel. So you say we help healthcare brands get SEO, AI optimization, social media, and paid ads working together. And those last two words kind of caught my attention because I'm always I'm always very curious about how people landed on their positioning. Why do they say the words that they're saying on the landing page or on the homepage, right?
Hmm.
And you say working together. So is that like a particular pain point that healthcare professionals experience where like they're doing all those things, but they're not working together? Or why did you pick that subheadline?
So we picked that because I recognize the benefit of it. And we're able to accomplish a lot more for clients when everything is working together, when we have a video strategy that ties back to SEO and where we have a and part of everything that we're doing, we have a video that had exceptionally high retention, for example. This we need to pass over to the paid team so that they can see how they can repurpose this or maybe replicate it for a meta ads campaign. We've had cases where our Google Ads campaigns have some really interesting data well, years ago, I noticed we'd have campaigns where the search term reports would have some really great data there, but nobody bothered to tell the person that was handling the SEO for the account. So like it was a completely missed opportunity. I'll give you a solid example of this. If we do a lot of work with home care agencies, like for senior care or care for seniors, and 2 summers ago, we spotted there was just a ton of searches for people looking for overnight care. So like kind of like a night nurse for your loved one. Because you need to get up in the morning. I get it. Go to Comfort Keepers or Visiting Angels or any of those companies, like major players' websites. None of them have pages that even mention overnight care. So by default, your mom and pop local home care agency can slap up a page in even in major markets and get a top 3 ranking because for something that people are looking for, because nobody knew to optimize for it in the first place. Now, if you don't have teams that are working together, however, this stuff just happens, like it ends up in a report that nobody looks at, and not even the client sees,
Right.
in a search terms report, and you do nothing with it. So the thing is, it's not a pain point. It's not a pain point. It is an opportunity. And when I sit down and I talk to marketing directors and the owners of these practices about why this is a better way, like across the board, they all say like, of course it's better to do it like this. Of course it's better to shoot a YouTube video and that follows the outline that you would have used for a blog and then upload it to YouTube and then turn that into the blog
Right.
versus YouTube video over here, blog over there.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not they're not searching for marketing agencies to help me do these things work better together. But when they see it, it's more like, huh, it's more thought leadership. It's like kind of that's interesting. Maybe it plants the seed of maybe there's a problem that this would be better. Cool.
Yeah, the ones that we meet with, they recognize this is a better way of doing this.
Yeah. How did you get into healthcare? Why do you specialize in healthcare? By the way, like when I look at your website, I'm always like I always admire people that pick pick a position, pick a industry and go with it. So often it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to say like this is what we do and not other things because there's 1,000 different people that you could help. How did you pick healthcare?
So we started off mostly just local search. Around here, we were getting a lot of clients that happened to be healthcare providers in the early days. A lot of everything was like everybody. Like if you're a generalist SEO or a digital marketing agency, you're getting lawyers, roofing companies, dentists, and so chiropractors and stuff. I didn't want to go after the home services because those guys, like those clients, they literally could not tell the difference between me and someone that dropped out of high school.
Right.
Like they couldn't tell. So they weren't able to. It was like you handing me $1,000 bottle of wine. I can't tell the difference between a $20 bottle of wine and $1,000 bottle of wine. So they weren't a great match for us. The lawyers, that space already has probably a half dozen really good SEO agencies. You don't need you and digital marketing agencies. We didn't need a set. I
Right.
wasn't gonna, I didn't want to compete with them. So at that point, we stopped marketing ourselves towards them. And I found in the healthcare providers, on the other hand, what you found generally speaking, like the big names that the companies do know in our space, they're very cookie cutter. They're cheese whiz factories.
Mm.
They don't do particularly good work. And when we would bring them on, we would usually come out smelling like roses afterward because we were doing the kind of work that the lawyers were getting, and they were probably previously getting the kind of work that like it was like off of Craigslist or Fiverr
Yeah.
practically.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So it's just kind of a process of elimination, seeing the opportunity.
Yeah.
How long has it been that you've been specialized in healthcare?
I think we put it on the web. We completely changed all of our messaging on the website maybe a year or two ago.
Oh, okay. So pretty recently. And how's it going?
Yeah. Before then, however, our strategy has always been most of our client acquisition is through organic search. And we had a lot of pages optimized around people that were looking for a marketing agency that experience in their industry. And those pages we've had up at least 6 or 7 years. So in that regard, like plastic surgeons have been finding us since like before the pandemic. But when it came to across the board, all of our online presence, I want to say it was like maybe 2 years now. And just like you said, like it's at first you're like, it's a little scary. I'll give you a great example here of a missed opportunity. Somebody that's a huge thought leader in our space approached me earlier this year. I was leaving the place where he works. It's a thought leader in our space. And he was interested in kind of starting something new. And he wanted to basically come here, be a part of our team, and like almost like build an agency within our agency. But the problem that I saw there was he had SEO industry thought leadership, and he was going to bring us in. All these people had nothing to do with healthcare.
Right.
And at that point, it was either going to be I had to abandon our positioning, or I was going to have this disjointed experience with training and onboarding staff. And I ultimately ended up not doing it. And it could literally may have been a $2 million like loss for us not doing this, but
Right.
I still think it probably was the right decision.
Yeah, it's such a good example of making a strategic choice and saying, to say yes to things, you got to say no to other things. It's basic. Um, so, so you made this kind of commitment to this direction, and revamped your positioning. What happened? Like, has it? Are you glad you did it?
Yeah, so our no, it didn't it our leads stayed pretty much the same when we first made the change. I think what happened was you had some clients that would have otherwise, or some prospects that would have contacted you that didn't, and then you had others that wouldn't have contacted you had it not been for your specialization, and then they kind of canceled each other out.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
then
Well, but
and
that's
then
still
you
good,
have the locksmiths that still fill out the form they can't read.
right? Nothing against locksmiths, particularly, just not in your target.
No, I mean, like, I get roofers and like all kinds of other things still in the contact form, and like it's not really what we're. There are people that are better equipped to help them.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So you lost. So the leads stayed steady, but they're just more of who you want.
Yeah,
So you're happy.
yeah, I'm glad that we did it. We actually brought on our first like Fortune 500 company last year following the positioning, and I'm positive that they would not have selected us had we not been healthcare specific.
Mm. Do you have any? So I think a lot of founders who are thinking about how to position their companies, whether agencies or SaaS companies or anything, picking a niche is, like I was saying before, kind of takes a lot of courage. What would you say to them?
I would say that you should that almost that a niche doesn't first of all, a niche doesn't necessarily have to be an industry. It has to be a problem. And the problem the problem that we solve is marketing for healthcare providers across channels and getting all those channels working together. Now, you could also be have a specialization of something like that's not necessarily as a marketing agency. Maybe you just focus on you're a TikTok SEO or a TikTok marketing agency, and that's it. That's all you do. And the industry doesn't matter as much. And as a matter of fact, being able to cross pollinate like stuff that like is popping off in gaming on the gaming side of TikTok could very well have an analog in the beauty side that nobody knows about. And by being able to cross pollinate, there's a benefit there. So I would tell them first that, but second, if you can't you're if you are everything to everyone, you're nothing to no one.
Yeah, I think also one thing that's helped me personally as I make some of these decisions is that it's an experiment. Like, do it for now. Like, lots of companies start narrow, and then they succeed there and succeed, and then potentially expand into other niches. It's not forever. It's to over. I would feel like you're making a decision that's set in stone. So that can help too. Because if you would have done it, if even with your healthcare thing, if you would have done it and things tanked or went the wrong direction, whatever, it's not, you would have had, it would have been, dang, and then you would have to fix it. It's not the end of the
I
world.
mean, it sounds strategy like any business school course is going to be chock full of case studies where of Amazons that focus on books first and then expand
Yeah.
into other things, or like Salesforce did the same thing. Like companies, successful companies do this all the time. It's rare to find somebody that comes along and says, "Oh yeah, we're going to help everyone for everything right out of the gate."
I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I think I feel like 80% of companies are way too broad in how they articulate what they do. Don't you think? Like you look, I think
Hmm.
that's what's so interesting about it is that it's kind of well known and understood business advice that everybody's like, yeah, that's true. But it's rare to actually do it.
So I was also saying the successful ones.
Oh, okay, yeah,
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 you have a lot of middling like companies that haven't positioned themselves at all. And yeah, that would be the case.
right.
If I were starting a roofing company in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, where I'm located here, I would I would out of the gate try to focus on differentiation, in what is otherwise a very uh commoditized product. But you'll find that not a single one has. They just compete on either price or out get out outdoing themselves with getting referrals and out
Yeah,
marketing one another.
yeah.
But yeah, no one, for example, we have a historical town over, the next town over is built like the 1700s. I have not come across a home services company in the area that specializes in historic homes. Like,
Mm,
how do you not? We're having a town like that right here.
hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine you live in a house that's built in 1783. You're just gonna hire Joe the carpenter to come work on it?
Right, right. It's obvious, yeah. But
But
we
nobody's done it.
but why? Why so what's the answer? Like but why do you think psychologically there's so much resistance or to making the bold positioning decision?
I think it comes down to loss aversion being stronger than gain opportunity. This would be the best way I can put it.
I think so too. I think you nailed it. Like the cognitive bias research is so interesting on a lot of
Hmm.
different fronts, but this one in particular, right? We're so sensitive to loss and missing out compared to gain. There's a book called I think it's called The Power of 50 Bits by Bob Neese, I think. And he talks about a lot of these things. And it's like cliff notes for human nature, actually. And you can understand a tremendous amount of of human behavior by like three cognitive biases. And hopefully I can remember them. One is this. One is humans are exquisitely sensitive to loss, to the group, like being in the group, and the present. So versus the future, and loss versus gain, and being in the group versus out of the group.
I
Like,
didn't know those second two, but they make complete sense. Honestly, the second one is fundamental to survival. It makes sense.
oh, it's visceral. It's like it's instinctual. You can't get away from needing to belong. It's hardwired.
Hmm.
Um, you know, oh man, time's flying. I have a question about just so what are the things? What are you excited about with Saga? Like, what's the future hold? What are you wanting to do with it over the next 3 to 5 years?
The thing I'm there's a bunch of things I'm excited about. One of them is we've had a lot of luck building out a team in South America. We've been hiring more in Argentina and Colombia in particular. Everybody else is here. But when it comes to positions that it would be the same if whether we were on site or remote, we're just finding amazing talent down there.
Hmm.
That I'm really excited about. Another thing that I've been really excited about just has been the whole social media aspect. I've initially I felt like I was late to the party, But the truth is that it's still a space that's growing and evolving quickly enough that it's a party that you can join anytime. And it's not in 2030, it's not going to look like what it looks like today. But I also see a lot of opportunity there, in particular with small business, because almost no one is doing it well.
Mm.
Like if I go around to just Instagram accounts or TikTok accounts of healthcare providers in my region alone, and most of our clients are not, almost none of our clients around here actually. But if I look in the region, just to, because I have to pick a sample, there's almost no one that is even getting the basic fundamentals of getting Instagram right. Basically they need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need help, and we're developing all the processes to be able to provide it to them.
Yeah. That is exciting. I think you're right. There's, especially as it moves more increasingly to B2B, um, it makes a lot of sense. I was going to ask you also, as you can imagine, maybe if you perused my stuff online, I am always interested, always researching, doing field research on goal setting and execution and accountability and this kind of thing. This is kind of my area of interest. And so I'm curious, when it comes to goal setting and execution and accountability, what would you say is your philosophy with your team?
We do the whole like we're not on EOS, but we do have something similar to like to an L10 meeting. We call it that, even though like we're not, again, we're not on EOS, but we have those meetings. We have them quarterly. We have them monthly, and we're very serious about accountability and saying like, yeah, we did that. Like I'm moving towards achieving this goal, or I'm not. We're not. None of the stuff's getting written down on a chalkboard and forgotten.
Right.
That's the only reason. The biggest advancements we've had towards getting rid of our biggest headaches in the last 2 or 3 years have actually probably all come from doing that. Like having, this is a problem. What are we going to do about it? Then execute on it.
Why don't you do the whole? I've heard quite a few people say something like you just said. It's kind of like EOS, but we do our own thing. We don't do exactly what EOS recommends. But EOS actually, what interestingly, they're very adamant. They're like, you got to do exactly the way we say in order to get the results that you want. And so there's this kind of disconnect between what people actually often do and what EOS says. I'm kind of curious,
Mhm.
why is it that you don't just follow what EOS does to the and what is it specifically that you kind of opted out of?
So EOS to me, the way I perceive it is like a paint by numbers, like training wheels for business school training.
Mm,
Like, the stuff that I learned when I got my MBA was everything that's in EOS. I recognize all of it. All of it is taught all of it's taught at Harvard Business. I didn't go to Harvard, by the way, but it's all taught at Harvard Business School. And we honestly don't need it. I also think a lot of the implementation of it is very inefficient. That's my big problem with it. Like you're going to have meetings about the next time you're going to have a meeting, and like that is the exact opposite ethos of our company. I don't know if you saw this on LinkedIn earlier this week. I posted, we do time tracking like most marketing agencies. We bill ourselves for meetings.
nice.
Like, so, all right, you wanted to talk with 10 people for 15 minutes. Okay, well, that just costs you X number of dollars. It cost the company that because they weren't working on client work that we
Right.
would have billed for. So
Right.
there's a cost with this. And we don't have meetings about having meetings. We have very few meetings. If it's needed, you do it. But the ceremony and the pomp and circumstance it doesn't have a place here. And we had clients that were on EOS, and that was my perception of what they were doing. It was just like so much. You guys could be running the company right now. Instead, we're all talking about stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you said accountability, and I'm curious about how your philosophy around that. I mean, it sounds like you run a pretty tight ship, um, but surely, like Quarterly Rock, for example, is intended to be something big and kind of hard, and surely it doesn't always get accomplished every time. You'd be uh, You'd be very unique if that were to be the case. So, how do you handle accountability when somebody misses a goal?
I've been really lucky. So, all right, the first thing is to figure out what happened. I'm thinking about our team, like with our two managers. I can't name anything that our two other managers were responsible for that didn't happen. For the most part, I think that they've gotten all of uh there was one in particular that I was in charge of a couple years ago that just I couldn't find the people for it. It didn't happen. And it's not something that we do. It's not a service we offer. But how do we handle this? Well, the first question is, because we've had some that were yellow, honestly, now that I think about it. The question is, in an entirely blameless way, how do we figure out what happened and what we can do differently? And it's in a very clinical way. All right, well, it was either the person didn't have the resources that they needed, or there was something unforeseen that prevented us, or I had somebody that just didn't do it. And nobody on my leadership team is the type that just like, next week I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like we get stuff done. So then we identify what are the resources we need, and what can we take off your plate so that you have the resources to get this thing done.
Yeah. I think that's I agree with you. There's a really good way of understanding accountability, which is what you're talking about, which is basically accounting for what happened. Just accounting. Like it's not uh you suck. It's just
Yep.
let's just talk about the just like accounting for money. Where did it go? It went here, or we're short there. Why was it? Oh, because we spent it this other place. Same, very similar to time and attention. That's a kind of a I like the word clinical that you used. Makes a lot of sense to me. Cool, man. Well, we're kind of coming in for a landing here in terms of time. I want to just before we sign off, are um any other words of wisdom for people who are building a company, leading a team, lessons learned, mistakes you've made, but then kind of learn from over the years?
There's so many, I wouldn't even know which one where to start, Scott, to be honest. The I guess getting back to, well, I'll tie it back to something from our conversation today. If you own a company and you've been on the fence about trying to position it to serve like a very specific customer, as long as that total addressable market is large enough to be able to sustain the business that you want to grow, just do it. Make sure that you made in the short term, maybe you'll take a hit. We did it. Everything stay at kind of equaled itself out, but odds are, it is the right, I'm almost certain it's the right decision.
I love it. I think that's a great takeaway and something like we talked about before that is easier said than done. So that's good encouragement. Frank, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
Same. It's great to talk with you, Scott.
Have a good one.